We don't stop. We want my dog, flipper squad. Yeah, we did it again with the bounce, rock, skate, roll.
Part about skating is stopping. Here we are, still rolling, powered by flippers.
Okay, so please welcome to the stage Liberty Ross, co-founder and creative director, and David Levy from WME, who's representing the brand.
Hi.
I actually thought there's another video you sent me that I thought we were going to show. But anyway, for 3 fleeting, glorious years from 79 to 81, the former bowling alley that was the center of Hollywood's pleasure-seeking universe, and alas, an unrepeatable convergence of pre-AIDS sex, knee-length tube socks, 70s drugs, four-to-the-floor disco fever, roller skates, and English savoir-faire. Liberty, I feel like I've just discovered the best party in the world that I wasn't invited to. How did it all come to be first? Because there's obviously a strong family connection that starts with your dad. So tell us the story.
All right, well, my dad is Flipper. His name is Flipper because when he was 17, he had a car crash with he was driving down a country lane and a double-decker bus was taking a naughty side route and crashed into him. He nearly lost his life altogether, but they managed to sort of save him and cobble his very broken leg back together. So he's walked with a limp ever since, and his friends have called him Flipper ever since.
He had a flipper foot, basically.
Flipper foot,
right.
And therefore cannot roller skate. So that's the irony of it all. But my dad started Radio Caroline in the 60s. He bought rock and roll all across England and Europe. And so he's always been very into music and pushing culture. And he got shut down by the government, I think, after about 4 or 5 years, because obviously it was illegal. And he had no job, several children, and a mortgage. And he was in a pub in London and discovered an article in the Evening Standard talking about how these uptown girls were going downtown to a rink called the Empire Rollerdrome in Brooklyn. And he was like, wow, that sounds so incredible. So he took himself off to Brooklyn and discovered the most incredible world that he knew nothing of. And he said he was just so kind of struck by the noise, the sound of the wheels on this wooden rink floor, and the most beautiful people dressed, from head to toe in sequins. And he was like, wow, roller skating is going to save the world.
And this was an all-black community.
Yeah, he was like one of the only white people in there. He was totally welcomed in. And
live DJ.
Yeah, live DJ, yeah. So that's kind of where he got the inspiration from. And originally he didn't know what he was going to do, whether it be make a movie but he was just so inspired by what he saw. And his best friend, Denny Cordell, had recently moved to Los Angeles. And when my dad was telling him about it, he was like, okay, let's open a rink in LA. So I don't even think my dad had ever been to LA. My mother certainly hadn't. But they named me Liberty because I had just been born. And off we went to America to open a roller boogie palace. So
Crazy. And Denny was quite a character, right? He was actually a record producer, worked closely with Chris Blackwell, I think, at Island Records.
exactly.
So he was kind of the connection in LA.
Yeah, he was working with Tom Petty at the time.
Right. Okay. How did they go about finding the location and everything?
So they wanted something very central, and they found that old bowling alley, and my dad wanted it to have a huge gold domed roof so that you could see it from space. And they were friends with Kosh, who designed a very iconic logo for the front, the big neon, and yeah, it was kind of originally supposed to be a members club, but of course everybody in LA signs up for a membership but never goes out. So
yeah, even back then. So like an incredible opening. I mean, very, very starry Hollywood starlet kind of opening. Everybody that was anybody back in the day was there for the opening, right?
All came and then never came back. So my dad was like, all right, my dad's much more about, real people anyway, and wanting to kind of like have the actual community involved. So, the next day he made it like, $3 on the door, and everybody came in, and that's when it became Flippers, because it was really the only place in Hollywood, or really Los Angeles, that kind of mixed all worlds under one roof. And that's, I believe, why people today still talk about Flippers 40 plus years later.
It was kids' parties as well, wasn't it? I read in the book. The book's incredible. It's an incredible kind of collection of memories, photos, the artwork. Kosh, she skipped past that, but Kosh designed a lot of very, very important record sleeves. Other than Hypnosis, it was really Kosh. So I think he did the Abbey Road sleeve for the Beatles.
Yeah, he did.
So they weren't messing about. It was a collection of kind of maverick Englishmen in LA. But I think it was the kids' parties, wasn't it, that brought in another walk of life that
Exactly.
maybe would definitely not have been invited to the opening.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was known as the best babysitter in town. You could drop your kids off in the day and then go about and do your shopping or whatever. And that was my mum's idea, because she was like, we got to get the kids in to keep the business afloat, so there was lots of birthday parties there, and at the same time, Prince did his Dirty Mind tour there, the Go-Gos were the house band, so it kind of was this, and that's the beauty of skating. You can be 3 to 103. It's really just for everybody to enjoy.
right. But how did it become such I know you were a baby at the time, but like it became like Studio 54. We're talking about rolling skating rink, but in terms of the kind of misbehaving, how did that kind of evolve in terms of why there? Obviously kids were coming during the daytime, but it was this kind of crazy party at night.
Yeah,
so how did that
there was definitely
that
that kind of a few hours in between where things all got a bit murky.
Twilight hours.
Yeah.
We can relate to that in Ibiza.
Yeah, I mean, we had live bands, live music. My dad was always bringing musicians over from England over, and, I think the drugs were very different then. I mean, it was the 70s, so, but Elton John was there, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there, and Cher was there, and I think because it was right in the middle of Hollywood, it really had this incredible mix of celebrities and also kids from Compton, and,
Yeah, do you think it was a case of people felt, it was that mix of celebrity and normal people, that people, while they were skating, it was like their guard was down, or their...
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, that's the beauty of skating, and what I hear so much today is like, skating is the great equalizer. There are no barriers. We are all equal on that floor. And, when you read the book, you'll hear, oh my gosh, I held hands with Cher. And today people always tell me, oh, I skated with Usher. It's like there's no velvet ropes, there's no security guards. And I think in today's world, more and more, we need more spaces that we're all just together as one.
David, you and I were talking, because I was, I lived in LA. I didn't really know that much about Flippers until, I read the book. And then I realized where the location was. And I said to you all, a lot of the early clubs that really sprung up in LA in the 80s and were actually on Santa Monica Boulevard. and Maxfield's, you know, the shop, the original shop where he was dressing Hollywood, I think late 70s, early 80s, was just by the Troubadour. And then you had a theory of what was going on.
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's interesting that we all, you know, as a global community, we celebrate our histories. So in London, it's Shum and the Trip and, you know, all the clubs that we grew up in. New York had the Garage, as you said. And LA had a really strong rave scene in the end of the 80s, early 90s, and you sort of think, how did that happen? Because it was a very segregated place, but it was one of the places in the world where the whole rave thing of everybody being one on the dance floor was really born. And when I met with Liberty's parents, who are incredible, and really sort of got into the story of what Flippers was about, when they said to me, you know, when the club stopped being full of celebrities and we started offering it out to birthday parties to kids, I was like, what age were those kids? And we did the math, and basically, for those kids, it was the only place outside of the classroom where they could mix with everybody else. Didn't matter, black, white, you know, whatever gender, race.
Well, first time they might have seen other people even like that.
Maybe. And so my theory is that that was the incubator for what became the rave generation in LA. And I think that's a very important thing to acknowledge because, you know, Flippers is kind of like a lost or a hidden history. But the deeper you go into it, you can see that those people went on to become, you know, real developers of the culture, you know, by the end of the 80s. So that's my theory anyway.
It's a good theory. There's another great line in the book. I think it was maybe the GQ article about everyone did their first thing there, their first kiss, their first line, their first everything. And apparently Tarantino was a junior skate guard. That was
Well,
between working in a video shop.
Yeah, he quotes about Flippers and Jackie Brown, his movie. So he was there, Laura Dern was there. She told me they were always together, and Paul Thomas Anderson. So they were all like teens, you know, 13, 14 at the time.
And you told me a story of your brother Atticus, who's obviously gone on to be an Oscar-winning composer, soundtrack maker, the composer. That he was skating around there when he was 8 years old and got into the DJ.
Exactly. So he was an incredible skater, and he told me recently that he still uses, you know, the way that he mixes music today is what he was taught at Flippers by all the DJs of the time. So I thought that was really interesting.
And in 3 years, and it kind of burnt out like a firecracker. What happened in the end? That's what happened in the end.
Yeah.
That's a great photo. Is it good?
I think it was just very popular. We didn't have quite the right permits, apparently. And, lots of kind of naughty things were going on that maybe weren't allowed. But it was an amazing time, and people are so fond of it, you know, and it's really those people that have put me on this journey today, you know, because I've now been living in LA for the last 20 years, and I can honestly say almost every day since I've met somebody with the most extraordinary memory of what happened to them at Flippers. So
someone to remember to take a lot of great photographs, that's for sure.
Yeah, so
you never got to skate there, obviously?
No, I was just pushed around in my pram by my siblings. They used to crash me against the rink walls and things. But yeah, so I don't really remember it, which is also why this journey's been so incredible for me, because just piecing together my childhood, you know.
Just tell me a little bit about because there's obviously the parties and the excess and the famous people, but tell me, because from the very beginning, the kind of culture of skating was very important. I think your dad met some skating crews in Brooklyn and then brought them over, right?
Exactly.
So there was always this kind of serious skating thing going on as well. It wasn't just...
there's still a serious skating thing going on. It's a really, really powerful community that is, you know, at the forefront of everything we do at Flippers. But yeah, my dad brought over 24 of the skaters from the Empire to LA, so they helped us kind of open it up, and I think many of them are actually still living in LA.
Okay. Just explain, what does it mean about, because I wrote that the other thing in the book is, you know, the best guys hang out in the middle. Or you,
Right,
or you have
the
to kind of,
jammers.
there's a kind of, hierarchy.
To the rink, yeah. Exactly.
It's a bit like surfing then, like don't get in my lane or don't get in my way. But, and is that still the tradition?
Yeah, I mean, every state in America has a very unique and different style of skating.
Okay.
And with different music, so it's really interesting. And then in London, I discovered something incredibly unique that, I had no idea about. But basically, when I put the book out at Dover Street, I rented the building that's now Flippers just for the night, and I gave the keys to 2 skater friends of mine because I wasn't really sure what the community was like in London, as I didn't live there. And I just remember arriving there, and it was like, whoa, like my jaw just hit the floor because first of all, there was like 1,000 skaters, and they all have this incredible, very fast-paced backward chop that's entirely unique to London. But they've never really had a rink before, so to see it kind of live all under one roof was so incredible. So that's why I wanted to put the first Flippers in London.
Okay, so let's just go back a few steps. So you brought it back, the revival. What was the impetus? What were the first steps in terms of getting us to where we are today?
So I mean,
how did you go about it?
During COVID, I did the book, and I was so inspired by the book, not only by the community that I saw and the diversity and the music and the fashion, but also kind of how miserable the world was during COVID and how divided we are. And I just thought, wow, we could really use Flippers, And I had read quite a bit that Rockefeller Center in New York was, wanting to become more diverse and more for New Yorkers. And
This was an ice skating rink, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I was trying to think of what is the most iconic rink in the world that I could think of. And I thought, well, Rockefeller. And I really want all Flippers to be like as central as possible, because I think that's really why our original club had such an impact, because it was so accessible to so many people. So I was like, okay, I'm going to call Rockefeller Center. So I gave them a ring and said, hey, how come you've never thought about flipping your iconic ice rink into a roller rink during the summertime? And they were like, well, we've never done that, but let's give it a try. So then a couple months later, there we were with Usher, who I'd met along the way. And that's my dad, Flipper, if we're looking at the same screen, yeah. And I just felt like the world needed a bit of joy and a bit of fun. And so that was kind of the reason there. So that was our first pop-up. I've done that the past 2 years. And then 6 months.
How does Usher get involved? You skipped over that bit.
Okay. So, well, actually, funny story. So during COVID as well, I was trying to think of a birthday gift for my husband, who's very difficult to buy birthday gifts for. So
He's here hiding in the audience, but we won't.
and all the rinks had shut down and no one could go anywhere. And our roller skating teacher was like, hey, don't you guys have a garage? You could like put a floor down. And so I was like, that sounds like a great idea. So basically I turned our garage into Flippers LA. And
I think that's you sent me a video of that.
yeah. And our nephew came along when I gave Jimmy the gift. I just invited our family over. And my nephew said, gosh, you guys need to meet Usher, because he's all about rinks and this community and nurturing rink culture. So he introduced us, and I told Usher my story. And he had said to me, he was just so obsessed with the idea of building rinks, and keeping that kind of culture going, because obviously more and more rinks are closing down. A little bit like bowling alleys, it's a tired...
Clubs, sadly, some places, or they were.
Yeah, so we just wanted to kind of disrupt the whole of the
So he's your
skating.
partner? Or he's
Yeah,
partner,
so we're partners, exactly.
Okay. So, before we get back to David with music, there's been quite a few. So you started in New York, but you've already, as we saw in the film, racked up a pretty impressive series of kind of cultural events. Just talk us through some of those, which end up at the Super Bowl. So tell us.
Yeah. So yeah, we started in New York, then we opened the flagship rink in London, in White City. And then along the way we did, we're really into this idea of flipping spaces. So we took over the Hollywood Palladium, for instance, for a Grammy party to test that out. That went really well because it's got this wood floor, which is like actually a perfect rink. So then we did another night there, and I want to continue doing nights there. We also took about 30 skaters to the NBA Finals last year, a couple of years ago.
Onto the floor of the...
Yeah,
okay,
onto
right.
the floor. So the halftime show, we had this incredible choreographed moment. And what else have we done? Quite a few things.
You did
we
that
took...
Grand Prix? No, you didn't do not the Vegas Grand Prix.
No, but we
but
did the
it's-
Wynn Hotel.
Okay,
So,
right.
yeah, basically Usher, part of his Vegas residency becomes Flippers. You know, there's a Flippers section during his show where they all come out on skates, and it's really fun, best part of the show. And because of that, he then got the Super Bowl. So they, we dressed the skaters and made incredible skates for the Super Bowl. And then we had this amazing after party where we actually covered the Wynn Hotel swimming pool with a rink.
Right, amazing.
So yeah, basically now we want to kind of keep taking Flippers out on the road, spreading the gospel of skating as far as we can, and doing these kind of pop-up models. Like next weekend we're doing our first music festival, Lovers and Friends. But yeah, we can kind of flip spaces. It's a mobile concept.
Okay. So David, just tell us, how do you do that? And where do you see music playing its part? I mean, it's such incredible heritage with the Go-Gos being the house band,
Yeah.
and Prince playing.
I think it's the same as any of the different scenes that have come out of dance music. The dancers were always as important as the DJ. If you look at all of the great histories, the dancers were the ones that led it. Look at the voguing scene alone, So I think what we have is a very authentic history and a really great way to give people a chance to experience dance music in a way they've never experienced before. There's skate communities all over the world. I bumped into Eats Everything earlier, and he's like, "Oh yeah, mate, we've got Bump in Bristol. I've DJ'd at that. Let me know." So I think the idea is that we want to create a new environment where we can, we're definitely going to promote diversity in the programming of the London venue. That's a really important thing. But we also want to give people a chance to connect on the dance floor without needing their phone, because underneath all these sub-tribes, we do need to remember that we're all one on the dance floor. That's really a fundamental of what we all say we believe in. But it's very hard when everything's algorithmically driven. So I think this is an opportunity to bring something much more physical, much more mechanical, and less reliant on technology. And every DJ I've spoken to is super excited to get involved. And I think it reminded me, when I first came across it, it reminded me of when we started Despacio with James Murphy and Too Many DJs. It was really about how
Just
do we...
explain what that is, because people
So
might not know.
Despacio... So Dave describes it as something difficult that we then made harder. Basically, James wanted to design a sound system. It was a late night, a lot of really great natural wine, and the four of us decided we'd try and do this sound system. So we found some money. James started building it. It got a bit expensive. I think it ended up costing $1.25 million to build the system. But it's literally the most incredible experience you can have on a dance floor, because you can stand right in the middle, feel the music in a very unique way because of the way the system's built, but you can still interact with each other. And the DJs are completely hidden. They're not the star.
Like the old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the great thing about the Flippers idea is that it brings the audience back to being the stars. You're an old enough DJ to remember when you weren't the star, right?
Paradise Garage, the DJ was hidden in a pillbox,
Yeah.
It wasn't about the DJ, yeah.
And when I was at Flippers recently and I saw their resident, Kay Trinada, playing, it was really interesting. He's almost not there. It's all about what people are doing.
Yeah.
And it's, I can't skate. I mean, they've given me a beautiful pair of skates and I am going to try and learn. But it's just so enticing to see that energy.
Yeah. So
And
hold on.
a lot of smiles.
Again, another significant point you just skipped over there. So Kay Trinada is a resident DJ.
Yeah,
The London venue.
The London venue is gradually becoming a very hit place. I mean,
Who else is, you've got?
Corolla plays there
plays
regularly now. We're working on a Black Coffee show there, which isn't finalized yet, but we're working on that. And Pete Jordan, who has a background in clubbing, is now programming different nights on a regular basis. And the idea is that we gradually develop a Flippers-themed night that, uses all this incredible visual history and the dancers, and then we get various DJs to come with us. And we want to take some of the theories that Liberty has explained, trying to do it in city centres, trying to regenerate spaces that haven't been used, and then in the week, so we have the party on the Saturday, and then in the week, let the local government or council use it for kids to have that experience, you know, provide some community. I mean, we all know that one of the biggest problems in society today is there's nothing for kids to do, hence the problems. So if we can provide an environment where they can skate and get to know each other on that level, I think that's a good thing. What I'm really excited about musically is that we've managed to enlist the help of Sam and Rich from the Warehouse Project, who I think most people would acknowledge are sort of leaders in the musical curation space. And they're going to help us sort of bring some of this stuff to life. But we definitely see an authentic history that's been forgotten, that we now want to share, and then bring it into the modern day and do things the way we do them today, but leverage all of this incredible history, you know?
How would it sit into the Warehouse Project? You'd build a flippers, or
it's not so much that we're going to go into their building.
No,
it's more that
I'm helping you take it elsewhere.
Yeah, we're going to identify places, locations, ideas, and then they're going to help us curate an environment that we can gradually build out.
Okay. And tell us about the. Let's just talk a little bit about the culture of skating some more, and where you see that going. And I know you're talking about launching a brand because there's no, you know.
I mean, I'm just blown away by the community. Every day I'm so inspired by them and us. I think they're just the most positive and humble and kind of just the most generous, loving people. It's a very welcoming community. I think that's what sets us apart from other kind of sports. I always say you can have an equally as brilliant time, whether you're a beginner or an advanced skater. You know, you can't help smiling ear from ear. And so, yeah, we're just, you know, there's skaters everywhere. So Flippers is slowly becoming kind of the global umbrella where, you know, skaters look forward to seeing what we bring to them. You know, there's never ever been a kind of hub for them, and they've always been slightly a minority community. So for me and us, we just want to keep pushing the culture forward. And yeah, you can see the way they dress. I've kind of worked in fashion my entire life, and Usher's obviously a fashion icon. So I think for us, you know, we really want to kind of provide for our community in all ways. So my next step is kind of, you know, building a clothing apparel line inspired by our community.
Yeah, some pretty amazing skates downstairs. The La Boutin. Is this collaborations or are this customizations or what?
Oh yeah, you can skate in heels. Ashley Amani, who's in that photograph, is like the queen of skating in high heels. She's Usher's muse, and on stage with him regularly. And you know, she needs no ankle support, but you have to be a serious pro for that. But yeah, there's loads of room to disrupt even just the like skates alone. You know, they're kind
There's no definitive boss skater brand in terms of the actual skates you buy, is there? Or?
There are a few brands of roller skates. I would say Rydel's the most kind of known, and they're a great American company. We collaborate with them. All of our skates are Rydel at our rinks. But yeah, skates is one thing, but I think clothing is another, because obviously you got to feel really good to skate well. So fashion, music, and skating are all hand in hand.
Okay, what's the what's your next aspiration in terms of where you'd like to see it pop up?
Well, I mean, actually, I'm spoilt for choice. I think I would like to start somewhere like Manchester, because I think, you know, a modern urban inner city, you know, can take so much away from this. So we'll definitely explore some cities like that. I also think there are a lot of celebrated events around the world where we can have some fun. You know, I can imagine doing this in Ibiza. I can imagine doing this at Art Basel in Miami. So we're going to explore all of those ideas.
Glastonbury with Wellington boots.
In the mud, I don't know. Maybe. You never know.
Have you managed to get Jimmy on on the...
Yeah, Jimmy's a great skater.
Is he?
He's got no excuse. It's in his garage, so.
Has he got balance?
Very good balance and rhythm.
That's mad. It seems obvious that I think your dad... This is just crying out to be a movie or a TV show as well. I think your dad originally, I was reading in the book, that was the idea coming away from the Brooklyn discovery,
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
it? First, he was trying to make a film.
Yeah, like I said, he didn't know exactly what he wanted to do, but he felt there was something there. So I think he had originally wanted to make a film about it, and then it turned into a physical space. But yeah, it's all just storytelling, you know, so I agree with you. I think there's a really good TV series to be made one day.
He'd be fulfilling his other ambition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't it in Charlie's Angels in one episode?
Yeah, it was in Charlie's Angels.
The actual venue.
Mm-hmm. It was in
Crazy.
Chips. Yeah, lots of things back in the day. Xanadu had their after party there, of course.
Yeah, referenced in Good Times by Chic, I think.
Yes,
as well, yeah.
exactly.
Name
Nile
checked.
Rodgers pretty much wrote the soundtrack to Flippers
Right.
back then, so
I think he was a good skater as well back in the day.
he's still a very good skater.
Right. And how's your own connection to roller skating?
I love it. I just feel amazing on skates. I think that's part of, you know, the freedom of it all. It's like all
Were you
about...
always a skater when you could, even
No.
though you missed, you weren't? So you...
Yeah, so I moved back to England when I was 7, and there weren't really rinks. So I mean, I never skated at all until about the pandemic.
Literally
So,
that late?
yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm
Well,
still a beginner.
Thanks for coming and telling your story. I think it's a
thank
very
you.
exciting addition to culture. Yeah, it's a beautiful book.
Thank
Incredible
you.
story. So
Yeah, we're only just
forward
getting
to seeing
started.
how it evolves.
Thank you. Thanks,
I don't know if
Pete.
there's any questions from the audience while Liberty's here. Any closet skaters in the audience? Oh, we got one at the back there.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Anyone put their hand up back there? No.
I think it was just saying he's a skater.
got shy.
He's a skater.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Oh, hold on. Yep. Dave.
Ooh, what's our favorite roller skating record? It's probably
Good
got to
question.
be Nile Rodgers, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Probably Good Times.
Yeah, I would probably go with that one too. Thanks, Dave. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Andy.
I think it's going to be interesting musically to see how it evolves, because in the skateboard community, a lot of people think that it's all hip hop and indie rock. But Mochak, who's a skate kid himself, you know, he's on a mission to bring skateboarding and house music together. Right. Well, you know, it's coming back around like everything else. But I think a lot of modern dance music could really work in this environment, and you know, so we're going to have a good go at making that happen for sure.
All us old funk and soul DJs will get jobs again. It's good. Anyway, Liberty Ross, David
One
Levy.
more question.
Oh, sorry. Come on.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for this great story. You mentioned the documentation in the book. Obviously, the book is what prompted and inspired you. Besides that documentation, would you consider maybe doing an exhibit of the imagery and the roller skates so that it's a proper engaging with the audience documentation, and then perhaps like have a skate, you know, have a rink to kind of bring together and really just capture that interesting part of history. I mean, we've seen many exhibits dedicated to Studio 54 and to other these amazing cultural moments, but this could, you know, with a book already out, and it sounds like you have all of this other kind of historical parts.
Yeah.
Perhaps you should think about maybe doing that. That would
Thank
be
you.
amazing.
Yeah, I would love to, you know, and that's what I try to do, because I feel, you know, it's an ever-growing family. So although it started in '79, it's still evolving. You know, we have more and more skaters, you know, every day. So it's kind of like in London, I try to wrap the walls, you know, with a lot of these pictures. And obviously, I don't know if you saw over here, we've got all of our skates. So the idea is that it's very immersive and this kind of...
It is quite immersive. So I saw the pieces actually upon coming here. So I think it would really make for a fantastic exhibit, and perhaps we can talk about it more.
I would love to. Thank you so much. Thank you.
For those that haven't been, what's the London one like? What's the scale of the operation?
You know, the first time I went, you drive through White City and it's all kind of concrete and shopping centre, and you think, where am I? And then you walk in and you just think, how do I not know about this place? You have these brick walls, sprung floor, the sound is incredible. You know, one side is all screens, the other side have windows that become screens. There's a very modular stage, there's this bar with an upstairs thing. I mean, my mind was just running away with all the different ways it could be done as a club. I've been there quite a few times now. Every time it feels different. But it really, once you're in there, you could be literally anywhere in the world. It just has its own
This
thing.
is Marco playing there.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah, he's been there a few times now.
Yeah,
You got him on skates.
we had
What was the
Skrillex
party?
on
You had a
stage.
party. You had a big party there. Was that whose birthday was that? Or,
I mean, we have. Well, I have my Glitterbox birthday party
okay.
there. Actually, Glitterbox came. That happened to be my birthday. But we've had 50 Cent. We've had Shaka Khan, Olivia Dean, Snoop and Dre have rolled through. I mean, it's an exciting space, and I think
and it's all happening in Shepherd's Bush.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
It's crazy.
So, no, it's a fantastic room. And, in London, we have such a shortage of great rooms and great spaces, and we absolutely have a shortage of great clubs. And to have a club that's actively trying to program in a diverse way and not just kind of follow what everybody else is doing, it's something we should really embrace.
Yeah, I will say everybody that comes to Flippers London says, wow, this is what parties used to feel like, because everyone's not just got their phone in front of them. So it's got that like fresh feel to it of real community and people actually engaging together. So
I think it's really exciting to, as you use that word, disrupt that space, and like it's kind of ignored.
Yeah.
It's so culturally significant. I can only say from us, we've had the book in our house since you sent it over for about a month. Everyone picks it up. It's like, what's this? What's this? What's this? It's like, I think once you get, it just draws you in. So
brilliant.
I'll have to learn to skate.
Well, it's not just about skating. Flippers to me is much more than actually just a rink. It's a whole vibe.
Yeah.
It's a movement, and it's
You might have a
vibe.
problem bringing the drugs and the Quaaludes back into Shepherd's Bush, though. But I mean, I'm sure they're there
We
somewhere.
don't need those.
No, exactly. Free spirit. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Liberty
you
Ross.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all.